Clifton Duane Bloomfield, a name whispered in the shadows, forever linked to the dark heart of Albuquerque in the summer of 2005. His story, like many who succumbed to the siren song of violence, began far from the blood-soaked streets where he'd leave his mark. Born under the scorching Arizona sun, his early years were painted in hues of neglect and abuse. A childhood home riven by domestic violence, the echoes of slammed doors and muffled cries. Bloomfield's young mind became a breeding ground for resentment and rage. School offered no solace, only social isolation and the sting of bullying. He retreated further into himself, seeking refuge in fantasies where he held the power of life and death. Petty thefts escalated to vandalism, each act a rebellion against a world that had shown him little kindness. By his late teens, Bloomfield was no stranger to the juvenile justice system. His crimes, though troubling, hinted at the darkness festering within. There was a cold detachment in his eyes, a disturbing lack of remorse that set him apart. Probation officers spoke of a chilling emptiness, a void where empathy should reside. He drifted through group homes and detention centers, a ghost in the system, forever on the periphery, always watching, always waiting. The seeds of violence sown in the arid soil of his childhood were beginning to sprout. Their poisonous tendrils would soon reach out, seeking to strangle the life out of innocent victims in a city far from the Arizona desert. Albuquerque would become his hunting ground, its unsuspecting residents his prey. The year was 2005. Clifton Duane Bloomfield, now a man in his early 20s, drifted into Albuquerque like a desert wind, silent, unseen, bearing the promise of a coming storm. The city, with its sprawling urban landscape and pockets of forgotten shadows, became his sanctuary and his hunting ground. He was a predator, drawn to the pulse of life on the streets, his senses attuned to the rhythm of vulnerability. He haunted the dimly lit streets, a specter moving through the late-night crowds. The neon glow of liquor stores and all-night diners painted his face in an eerie, flickering light. He found shelter in rundown motels and abandoned buildings, places where anonymity thrived and darkness held sway. Days bled into nights, a blurry kaleidoscope of cheap booze, petty crime, and fleeting encounters. Bloomfield was a ghost, a whisper in the darkness. He observed, he calculated, his eyes searching for weakness, for the perfect opportunity to unleash the monster within. He found a perverse thrill in the hunt, in the anticipation of the kill. His victims, chosen at random, were mere pawns in his twisted game, their lives insignificant, their only purpose to satisfy his growing bloodlust. To understand Clifton Duane Bloomfield's crimes is to peer into the abyss of a mind consumed by darkness. He defied easy categorization, eluding the neat profiles criminal psychologists rely on. He was a chilling paradox, a man capable of both meticulous planning and explosive, impulsive violence. His internal landscape was a desolate wasteland where sanity clung precariously to the edges of a bottomless chasm. There was an unsettling duality to his nature. He could blend in seamlessly with the city's invisible population, a nondescript face in the crowd. Yet beneath the surface, behind the vacant eyes, lurked a predator, a creature driven by a primal urge to hunt and to kill. His motives remained frustratingly elusive, even to those who studied him most closely. He seemed to derive pleasure from the act itself, from the power he held over his victims in their final moments. The random nature of his crimes only amplified the terror. No one was safe, no pattern to decipher, no way to predict who would be next. He was a phantom, striking without warning, leaving behind a trail of shattered lives and unanswered questions. He was the embodiment of every parent's worst nightmare, a boogeyman come to life in the searing heat of an Albuquerque summer. Carlos Esquivel was a man of routine. Every Tuesday night he could be found at the same dimly lit bar on the outskirts of town, nursing a beer and swapping stories with the regulars. He was a fixture, a comforting presence in a neighborhood grappling with its share of hardship. He had a quick smile, a kind word for everyone, and a heart that belied his imposing physique. On a sweltering July night, as Carlos made his way home from his usual Tuesday ritual, he became another statistic, another name added to the growing list of Clifton Duane Bloomfield's victims. It was a chance encounter, a case of being in the wrong place at the wrong time. Bloomfield, lurking in the shadows, saw an opportunity and seized it with chilling efficiency. The attack was swift and brutal. Carlos, caught off guard, never stood a chance. His body was discovered the next morning, sprawled in his apartment by his landlord. His death sent shockwaves through the community, shattering the illusion of safety and plunging residents into a state of fear and uncertainty. Unfortunately, this would just be the first victim.